This video is a series of clips from a firing I did last night. On the screen is the kiln log, videoing this the next day. This firing was a cone 10 reduction firing. The goal was strong reduction, which was achieved. The only issues during the firing were that I thought it was going to take a little longer and need more gas because of a bunch of plates in the kiln and extra shelves and hardware or kiln posts adding to the mass. But in fact, I probably did not need to do that, as the overall firing was 6 hours rather than the normal 6.5 hours. Also, my parameter was reading a little bit low at the end, and I remembered that this happened once before when the battery got low in the gauge. So I use the cones to know when to shut the kiln off, not the parameter, but the parameter is used as a relative reading to go ahead and set the climb rates and also the body reduction. Another thing I'd like to mention about this video is that it won't make a lot of sense if you don't already understand the reduction firing process. Now, the firing process can be found in the manual and also on the blog, and I'll provide links to both of those. Once you understand the firing process, reduction firing process, it'll make more sense what all my adjustments were and what I was looking for. One thing that I do is I mention how I'm timing it, and so what I'll do is when it gets to a certain temperature, I'll write that temperature down and start a stopwatch. I'll then wait until it goes up 2, 3, 4 degrees, whatever, and then I'll stop the stopwatch and I'll do the math, which is if you've got say 3 degrees of climb over 2 minutes, then what one does is take 3 degrees of climb times 60 and divide it by 2 minutes, and that will give you your climb rate per hour. In the manual, it states climb rates that I'm typically looking for, especially at the end. The last 100 degrees, I look for about 60 degrees per hour average climb rate. Also, I do everything in centigrade. That's how I learned it, but obviously one can just convert that all to Fahrenheit and do the same process. In the manual, it shows both centigrade and Fahrenheit. This video is about firing a 23-inch diameter by 27 TDI kiln conversion. It's going to be a strong reduction firing, and this is the initial setup, which I start about 3 o'clock in the summer so that it finishes in partial darkness so I can see the reduction flame. The initial setup with about a half hour to go is just getting the water container set up and the gas fittings, no water in it yet, and the kiln is all loaded. This is the setup. It's a single burner. I do have a little igniter and a for the pilot. Okay, it's about 3:30 and I'm going to go ahead and get this going. Normally I have 2 tanks connected together, but I know this kiln uses only about 20 pounds out of a 30-pound tank. First thing you do is make sure that the pressure gauge is completely released and free, and then go ahead and turn it on. After that, I know that if I open this up to about, put some pressure in it, about 3/4 of a psi, that'll give me around 1/2 to 1 psi when I open up the main burner. What I'm going to start with is just a candling flame for maybe 15 or 20 minutes while I finish the setup. So I've got a quick release valve, and so this is off. We turn the quick release valve on. Go ahead and turn this about one turn. And I can just hear now I've got, see if it focuses down there. I've got the pilot candling. I'm going to go ahead and turn this on. Okay, so now I've got a flame. That's a little bit bigger than I like. So I'm going to come down to here and turn it down to about a half psi, which will just have a small flame that's actually down in the MR750, but it's not going to hurt it. It's not hot enough to do anything. Okay. Alright, I just put on this for heat protection. And now I'm going to go ahead and close the lid up and then continue the setup. The lid is closed, and I've got on the flue vent. Normally I have an elbow at the top, but since there may be a chance of rain, I'm going to leave it like that a couple hours to make sure rain doesn't get down and drip into the kiln. And then we've been candling for just a few minutes, but we're up to about 40 degrees centigrade. And I also have left the peephole plugs off just during the initial candling to let the moisture evaporate and also just warm it up so it'll start, the draft will start pulling out of the flue vent. And I'm still just about 1/2 psi on the pressure. It's been about 5 minutes, and I've got a trickle of water coming out, which is filling the tank. Now this will keep it from freezing. I'm up to about almost 90 degrees centigrade, and I've set up my dampening blocks. They're set to 8 inches. The ruler I center on about 5 inches, just 2.5 inches each side from the center, and to make adjustments during the firing. I never really open up more than 4.5, 5 inches, so that gives me an easier way just to read what the flue dampening is. I fire with a log rather a vertical log rather than the way some of the older potters use a line on a log. I find this just a little easier, and it's what I learned originally. So here's my blank log, and at the bottom I've got what I expect to have happen for this firing. This is my last firing, which is about maybe a week ago. And I've got to note the reduction was too strong. I hadn't fired in a while, and for whatever reason, the numbers that I used provided just a little stronger reduction than I needed, and I could actually see it after it came up to 900 degrees, where I start body reduction and stay there for about 45 minutes. After there's usually not much of any reduction flame visible until it gets up around 1150, 1200 degrees. I had a reduction flame right away, which should have showed me that my climbing reduction was a little too strong. So this takes about 2 hours to get to 900 degrees centigrade, and at that point I stall the kiln out and I do a 45-minute body reduction. After about 10 minutes, I've increased the pressure to 1/10 psi. And that was a couple minutes ago, and it's up to 150 degrees centigrade. There's heat. You can feel heat coming out of the flue now. So I'm going to go ahead and just plug up the peeps. Top peep is a regular size peep. The bottom one I rounded out just to make it a lot easier to see. So go ahead and plug that up. And now I'm going to continue for about another 5 minutes or so, maybe 10 minutes. Let it get up to about 200 degrees centigrade, and then I'll turn the burner up. I'll mention one thing about the location of the pressure gauge on the TDI conversion. It is attached to the tank and the regulator, which makes it really easy to adjust and read immediately. Sometimes when I adjust it, I'll go ahead and tap it a little bit, make it stabilize. It then goes through a 10-foot long cord to the actual burner. Some people feel more comfortable putting the pressure gauge right at the burner, but it doesn't really matter. It's a relative reading, and it's a lot more convenient to have it mounted on the tank itself, since that's where one adjusts it, and you don't have to deal with the heat in the location of the burner. Another thing is that the hose adds a little bit of drag, so one actually gets a slightly higher pressure reading, and since we're dealing with such low pressures anyway, it just makes it a little bit easier to adjust. It's been about 25 minutes since I turned the kiln on, and it's just reaching 200 degrees centigrade. This is just an arbitrary number where I like to go ahead and turn it on. I don't know that it could probably be done at 150 or one could wait, but it's just the pattern that I follow. So what I do now, what my book says, is I go ahead, turn it up to 1.5 psi. And then I'm going to come down here, and I'm just going to go ahead and lower the pilot down to about a half a turn. So turn that, I turn it off, turn it on to about just over a half a turn, and what that does is it just lowers the flame. At this pressure, it doesn't need a giant flame coming out of the pilot. So now the kiln is going to be starting to climb, and basically we just leave it until it reaches 900 degrees centigrade. It's been about an hour and 10 minutes since I turned it up to 1.5 psi, and it's up to about 763 degrees centigrade. I've gone ahead and added the extra chimney piece, as I don't think we're going to get rain. The pressure creeped up. It often does that for whatever reason. I've left it so it's 1.65 psi. I've got a large load of shelves in this one because I've got several plates. So the extra mass, with the extra mass, I'm not going to worry about a little higher pressure than what I typically do. And so it's got about 150 degrees to go to 900. One note, I don't leave the kiln unattended until it gets to be red hot, at which point I'll go up into the house, get some food, but typically I'm not gone more than 5 minutes. I figure that if the wind for some odd reason blows the flame out, it's going to reignite. I don't have a safety system on this kiln. I don't think it's needed, and especially since I never leave it unattended. Because of the roar of the flame, it's pretty obvious if the flame were to be blown out. And there have been times when it's been really windy, and what I'll do is put some kiln shelves around the bottom of the kiln just to try to keep the wind off of it. It's about 5:30 now, and in 2 hours since I started the candling, maybe an hour and a half since I turned it up to 1.5 psi, and I'm just timing it right now. It's going up about 220 degrees an hour still, so probably has about another 10-15 minutes until it gets to 900. I do this in small increments sometimes. The easiest is to do 6 minutes and look at the difference, especially when it's climbing around 100 degrees an hour, which it'll do later. towards the end. So I've gotten up to about 905 degrees centigrade. So the next steps are going to be to choke down the blocks to 2 3/8 inch and then turn up the gas to about 1.9 psi. The kiln was choked off about a minute ago, and it had gotten up to about 909.5 degrees. It's choked down to 2 3/8 inch. And at this point I can go ahead and turn the pilot off because it's red hot, and even if the wind were to blow it out, there'd be no issues. And I've got this set on approximately 1.9 psi. So now I'm just going to monitor the temperature for about 40 minutes. This is for body reduction. And the range is about 900 to 930 degrees is what I try to do over a 40-minute period. One doesn't want to let it go over 950 degrees because the glaze is going to start melting and one won't get a good body reduction. And this setting requires a little bit of tweaking. Sometimes as little as a 1/16 of an inch movement of one of these blocks can cause the temperature to start rising. I'll let it go up to about 925 or maybe 930 at most, and then I'll go ahead and push the block in a 1/16 and it might start descending, and I'll let it get back down to 910 degrees, and it sort of oscillates back and forth during that 40 minutes. After the 40 minutes, it gets opened up a little bit and we start the climb to the finish. So after about 10 minutes, it's gone up to about 915 degrees centigrade. I'm going to leave it there. I haven't changed the setting. Really no obvious reduction flame yet, but I can smell, standing this close, I can smell a bit of an acrid smell, and that's the reduction. It's been in body reduction for about 25 minutes, and it's gotten up to 923 degrees. And all of a sudden, at that higher temperature, a reduction flame is now evident coming out of the flue. And if it gets much higher, I might close off the block maybe a 1/16 to a 32nd of an inch and just let it stabilize so it doesn't continue climbing, because it's got another 20 minutes of body reduction to go. So it has creeped up to about 930 degrees, and so now I'm just going to go ahead and move the block in about maybe 1/8 of an inch, 1/16 of an inch. So that was probably 1/8 of an inch, and I'll just wait a few minutes, see where the temperature stabilizes, and I'm going to try and keep it at around 930. It's got about 15 minutes, maybe 10 to 15 minutes remaining for a body reduction. So this is the reduction flame now. The temperature did go up slightly, so I reduced the gas pressure down to, what did I reduce it to? It is 1.85, so I reduced it to 0.05. And the temperature now is kind of stabilizing at about 931.5 degrees. Just a note, this is the first time I've actually been caught in a hard rain firing. I've got sprinkles before, but never quite this hard. I took the top part of the flue off, or the exhaust off, and no water is actually getting in there. It's so hot that anything that hits the pipe is just evaporating, and then I've got a little cover on the pyrometer. Otherwise, everything is going well. So now it's been open to 3.5 inches, and the pressure set to 2.1 psi, and now we're going to do the climb up to the final part. It's been about a half an hour and the temperature's up to about 1,020 degrees centigrade. This is what the reduction flame looks like with a cell phone camera. In real life, it's not quite as intense, and right now I've got what I would call just medium to medium strong reduction, as the glazes I've got in there like a strong reduction flame. Here's another image of the reduction flame, and what I did was I just darkened my video to kind of match what it was like outside, and this is more what one would see in reality for a reduction flame. So it's not super intense at this point. It's at about 1,040 degrees, 1,035 degrees centigrade. So that's kind of what one is looking for. So I have been doing timing tests starting at about 1,070 and then again at 1,090 degrees. And at the current settings, which I found is actually not 3.5, it's about 3 5/8, maybe slightly larger. But the kiln is finally slowed down to about 108 degrees centigrade climb per hour. And I like to keep it at least 150 at this point, but usually between around 1050, 1060, and 1090. I usually have to go ahead and increase it. So what I'm going to do is open it up to 4 inches and then do another timing test after it stabilizes and continue the climb. Okay, I'm doing the video now with the cell phone darkened again, trying to imitate what I'm actually seeing. And so after opening it up a little bit, that's a light to medium reduction flame. I'm looking for a little heavier reduction, so I'm going to go ahead and turn the gas pressure up to 2.2 psi for this particular one, because I just want a little stronger reduction, since I've got some Rhodes Stoney Matt white, pretty much that base is completely filled in the kiln. So it's at 1,124 degrees centigrade now, and it's about 15 minutes after I made that last adjustment. I've got a good reduction flame, but it slowed down from about 146 degrees per hour climb 15 minutes ago. It's already slowed down to about 130 degree per hour climb, as I just did another timing thing. Typically when it gets up to about 1150 to 1180, it'll slow back down to 100 degrees per hour, and I will go ahead and open it up again there to maybe 4 1/4 inches. So I've got a few more minutes to go until I make that adjustment, and the pressures remain constant. I'm not going to go any higher than 2.2, and 2.2 does do strong reduction on this kiln. 2.1 is a better for just a mild reduction, and that way it won't blow out celadons and rutiles. It's about 8:15 and the temperature was 1170, and the climb rate had gotten down to about 74 degrees per hour. So I went ahead and opened it up about 1/4 inch, so now it's 4 1/4, keeping the pressure the same at 2.2. And I'm going to, once it stabilizes, I'll do another measurement and see what the climb rate is. At 1197, I did another timing run for about 5 minutes, which showed a temperature rise of approximately 80 degrees per hour. And we're within the last 100 degrees, so per the cone charts, We want to have an average rise of approximately 60 degrees per hour, so that's what I'm shooting for. So I'm not going to make any adjustments because this will continue to slow down, and it just seems to work that, you know, shoot for about 60 degrees per hour during the last that last anywhere from 60 up to about 100 degrees of temperature change. Typically my pyrometer reads about 1277 when cone 10 goes down. The book says 1282, but I always figure that 1277 is about that time, and I'll start looking at the cones around 1240, 1245, because that's usually when cone 9 begins to go down. So I'm at 1228 degrees, and I did about a 5-minute temperature climb rate check, and it was showing 73 degrees per hour, which is a little high. As I mentioned, I'd like to see 60, so I went ahead and turned the gas down to 2.1. The reduction flame is still good, and it seems to have stabilized. I'll do another 5 or 6 minute temperature climb rate check, and then decide what I want to do. I would like it not to go too fast at the end. I really do like the last 100 degrees averaging only 60 degrees per hour. I did another time check, and at temperature of 1236, it's reading about 60 degree climb per hour. And I checked the cones, and cone 9 is about 3 o'clock, so about halfway down. And so it looks like everything's on schedule, although it's happening a little fast, so I'm not going to make any more adjustments, and the firing should slow a bit over the next 30 or 40 degrees. So I'm nearing the end of the firing now. Parameters indicating approximately 1262 degrees. Cone 10 is about 2 o'clock or 40 degrees according to their cone charts. And I reduced the pressure a few minutes ago down to 2.1 psi as it was climbing at about 70 degrees per hour. I still wanted to slow it down at the very end and try to maintain that near 60 degrees per hour climb. The parameter has been used about maybe 15, 16 times, and so it may not be accurate, and I usually almost always follow the cones at the end, and cone 10 will probably be down in another 10 degrees on the parameter. Well, it's about 12:35, and cone 10 has just gone down, and I've choked off the kiln a little bit to 3.5, maybe 3 3/8 inches, and I've lowered the pressure to 1.6 psi. It's causing the temperature to drop slightly, but this is kind of an evening out procedure done at the end, and it just helps to stabilize the temperature. It's very similar to what's done in an updraft kiln. This firing went a lot faster than I expected. It was only 6 hours long. Since I have a lot of plates with extra shells in there, I thought that I was going to need a little bit more gas. So after body reduction, I had the pressure set just a little bit higher, and I think I just got here a half hour sooner. So I'm getting ready to shut everything down. What I'm going to do next is just turn the gas off, and then I open it back up to about 8 inches on the dampener, and I allow the kiln to crash cool for about 5 minutes, and then I'll close up the dampener and put a small plate over the burner, and then close up the shed. This is the kiln opening the next day. It had cooled down to about 100 degrees centigrade, and so I've opened up the lid, and just let things continue to cool down. Reduction was strong, probably a little stronger than I anticipated, and that's what I kind of realized towards the end of the firing, as I mentioned during the video. Otherwise, everything looks good. It's a Stoney Matt glaze, so with more reduction and thinner coating, it will turn more brown. I've got a lot of pasta bowls and plates in this, and so it has a lot of mass, and that's why I had a little more gas and power than I expected, but otherwise everything looks pretty good. In this after firing video, I just wanted to highlight the location of the thermocouple probe. Notice that it's not near any mass, any pottery. That's sometimes difficult to do, to pack the kiln and not have something there. The other thing is that it's about 2.5 inches into the kiln, so it's not going to pick up or be affected by the absorption or radiation from the wall. And then also here is the enlarged peephole and the cones, which are sitting on top of a couple cut shelf pieces just to get them in the right position.